The Onion News Network. Twice as many swears as other news broadcasts. Guaranteed.
Hey folks, welcome back to The Question, a Blog Talk Radio conversation with me, Doug Pagitt, your host, where the news updates are brought to you by the good people over at the Onion Radio Network. Hey, glad to have you all aboard. This is the June 9th edition. If you're watching on YouTube, this is part 2. If you're listening on Blog Talk Radio, go ahead and keep listening. And if you're listening on the archives, I know you like it when each segment of the show is broken into their own discrete half-an-hour allotments. But it's too much to do when I'm running all the guest hosts at the same time. So the way this works around here is our guest hosts. Our guest hosts include natural health coach Shelly Pagitt, who will be with us in 20 minutes. After Shelly, we're joined by parenting expert Carla Barnhill. We're joined after Carla by theologian Tony Jones. And today, Steve Sherber, our friend, home remodel, home rebuilder, and good advice giver, he's having to take the day off. So the show is going to rearrange itself and is going to include Tony Jones. If you'd like to join in the conversation, we'd be glad to have you. If you want to join in on the chat room over at Blog Talk Radio, you can feel free to go to Blog Talk Radio /Doug Pagitt, and you can join in over there. If you want to be on the chat room over here on the Ustream side, you can go to ustream.tv/channel/Doug Pagitt and join on in. You can find all that at dougpagitt.com by following the question coupon. We'll bring you on over there. Hey, it's a big day around the Pagitt household. Today, the second child graduates high school. Taylor Pagitt, after today, and walks across that stage, will receive a diploma. Now, that is if the check that we gave him the other day to go pay for the econ book that he lost cashes, and they credit him for it. He lost his econ book, $60 that we had to pay for. But he's going to graduate high school. And we had, like a lot of people do, we had a big party for him on Sunday. We had an open house. The family and friends came over and gave him money. And it's such an odd it's an odd custom in our day now. And here's what I mean. It used to be, I guess, that graduating high school was a really big deal. Like it was not a lot of people did it. And when they did, you had a party for them. And it was a good thing to celebrate, and it was sort of a person's step into the real world. But doesn't it seem like now that graduating from high school, with literacy rates being as high as they are, with the graduation rate in this country being so high, that for most people, I know this isn't true for everyone, but for most people, graduating high school is just sort of the next natural step. Like it just happens, right? You just plug and play, you just do the things, you just show up and fill out the assignments, and you graduate. So it's a bit of an odd custom that in our culture, in which our kids are going on to college, right? Like they're college bound. Our last, this graduate and the graduate before, Michonne, are college bound, and yet we have an entire celebration of graduating high school. And I realized the other day, it has nothing to do with them. It's a big chance for us, the parents, to throw a party and have our friends over. And it carries a social implication to it that people have to come, and they have to bring that kid a card. And sometimes that card includes a check. What a world. Huh? What a world we live in. So anyway, we had that over the weekend, which was a lot of work. We got the garden together, redid the front steps, as some of you know if you've been following on the show, redid the front steps, painted the front door, rearranged the door handle so it opens the other direction. I mean, lots going on. I had a sawhorse out there. I had a little workstation set up, was taking care of business out in the front yard. And we did the garden and got it together and rearranged some stuff in the backyard and put down a bunch of grass seed. And it hadn't rained in a month in Minnesota. We had the driest May on record. And the first day that it rained was the day before our open house. Rained like crazy, and then it was 55 degrees and cold outside. But it went off without a hitch. We had a great time. And everything went. So then tonight, we go over to the graduation ceremony. Now, if you all been to these graduation ceremonies before, boy, I'll tell you what. Nothing like sitting through 597 kids walking across the stage having their names read. And you get a little speaker, a valedictorian and a guest presenter. And, oh, boy. I mean, it's not a pretty sight. So we're going to get there. I think some other family are going to come. We're going to squeeze into the seats over at the Northrop Auditorium at the University of Minnesota and sit for about 2.5 hours watching people parade across the stage. And when Michonne did it last year, I felt, it was a little touching to see her walk across the stage. I'll give you that, but come on. Barely worth the effort. In fact, Chico, our youngest son, 15, said, yeah, I can't go to Taylor's graduation and I have a soccer game. And I said, Chico, you couldn't be more lucky. It's so boring. And he said, that's just what Mom said. But we'll probably drag Ruben along with us because he's got to do it next year. So we'll probably drag him along so he has to watch what he's going to put up with next year. So that's been a lot going on around here for the Pagitts. I don't know about all the rest of you if you've had a busy summer or not. I was going to take up golf. I got my hand fixed. I had this hand pain. I got it fixed with a cortisone shot. And I was going to take up golf. I've had no time. I know it's only June 9th, but still, I've had absolutely no time for that kind of thing. Hey, a couple of news updates for you here. As you know, over at The Question, we try to keep you up on bank robberies because, as it turns out, people rob banks, and they rob banks quite frequently. Well, one of our bank robbers, here's a little update for you on one of the bank robbers from last November. Got 6 years in prison for robbing a bank. Good thing he didn't rob a bank with a small amount of crack cocaine in his pocket, because then he could have gone away for life. Our sentencing guidelines in this state are a little goofy. But anyway, this fella got himself into a little trouble. Last November, he robbed 2 different banks. Walked in, gave the people a note, and they gave him money. One time, $378, and the next time, $2,260. Now, I thought if you robbed a bank, it was a federal crime, and maybe it's because you didn't use a weapon. I don't know, that you went away forever. This guy's robbing banks and only getting 2 banks and only getting 6 years. And you know how they caught him? They caught him because there was a domestic dispute at his apartment between he and his girlfriend, and the police had to come over, and they looked at him and they said, hey, you look like the guy that robbed the bank right down the street. The guy robbed a bank on his very same street. How do you like that? Don't you think that the tellers could have seen you? And here the police who investigate that bank robbery and know what you look like were the ones called to the domestic dispute at your house. Hey, when you're going to rob a bank, hop on the bus and go across town and rob the bank over there. Frankly, people, on this radio program, I get tired of having to give you bank robbers good bank advice. Like the guy that I had to give bank advice of don't write practice notes at home and then leave them there when the police come to your house. And the guy, don't write the bank robbery note on the back of your dad's deposit slip after crossing out his account number. Seriously. Well, these are the kinds of things, that go on in this crazy little world that we live in. And we like to bring to you over here at the Onion Radio Network on a more really kind of note, which I had to give to some people the other night. I'm in a movie theater watching Love You Man, which I loved it. Loved the movie. I was on a little mandate with my friend Tony, and we went and saw a movie about a mandate. Sort of bizarre in its own right. But these people behind me, this guy, he's snuggling into his girlfriend. He's kind of laying on her, totally inappropriate. And they're talking like this loud during the movie. And they're in the row right behind me and then 2 seats over. So I turn around and I look at him and I go, really? I give him the really thing. I give him the Seth Meyers really thing. Really? Yeah, really? And she's like, oh, are we being too loud? I said, really? And she shut it down. But on the really note, if you can believe it, Cindy Sheehan is still protesting in Crawford, Texas against George Bush. Still protesting. Look, I understand that you're torn up about your son. I am too. Nothing good comes out of that. I think someone's at my door. Hang on a second. I got to check this. Too much. No, wait, I don't know if my wife called for an extra one or not.
I did.
Is that what we should do?
Right here.
Oh, here she is.
We